Nope.
What are you doing?
I'm getting my science lesson in. Hi, everybody. This is Patrick's trunk. That's all you need to see. You don't need to see any more than that.
This is Lisa's stuff.
1 second, y'all.
I got her test, and then so she's proficient. I highlighted the one she's proficient, and I just got some stuff together. She was not proficient. It's mostly, and then if you go over this, I highlighted. So this is most of
Okay.
the base 10, but if I should be back by noon, so there she needs some
Okay.
more stuff.
I got you.
And the strategies for her would probably be put them in columns. So she needs some. So these are all. So if you want to, if I'm not back, you can give this to her, but that should work for the reading. Sorry, peoples.
Hi, everybody. So we are ending this day the way we started. Cuckoo. It's pouring down rain. What are you going to say? It's not 95 degrees, right? So we are going to finish the day with our science lesson, and I'm just going to move right through it. We are still talking about how living things are classified or organized, and there's an actual word for that called taxonomy. So let's make it do what it do today, y'all. Let's finish it up. And here's our worksheet. Let's go. All right. I want to make this bigger so we can function on this. It's actually quite a bit enclosed in this little page here. I want to make sure that we get this. So, living things are classified basically in 3 ways. The first one is by the life function. And the body of a living thing is a highly organized system. So it is a system of organs or organelles, right? It regulates itself. It's capable of adapting to changes in its environment. To maintain life, all living things must be able to carry out 8 biochemical and biophysical activities that are known as life functions. I didn't type this. I'm looking at all these typos. These are summarized in the table below. And let me say before I go into these 8 functions that if an organism is unable to maintain any of these functions, it dies off and may die off as a species, as an individual or a species. So the first thing a living thing must be able to do is to grow. And that's either by increasing the size of the cells or the number of cells. And the growth takes place in an orderly fashion. Number 2, it must be able to breathe or have respiration take place at the cellular level. And that is a complex chemical process which releases energy from food. So we have it within the cells, or we have breathing, which we as mammals do when we breathe in oxygen and give off carbon dioxide and water. Another life function is nutrition, that all of the activities and a living thing does to obtain food, which means to bring the food into the body or ingestion, to break the food down from complex chemicals into ones that can be easily used by the body, or digestion, or assimilation, in which the body um, can produce nutrients which mimic what the body itself can produce. So, for example, some of us take melatonin supplements for sleep. Well, the body in the brain creates melatonin, but if it's not enough, you may have sleep problems. So, assimilation. And then excretion, which is the removal of waste products by regular life processes, which includes during a breathing process, carbon dioxide, water in the way of perspiration, and also urea, which is contained in urine. Number 5 is synthesis, in which small molecules are built into larger molecules. We learned about this last week when we talked about DNA and RNA, which is the messenger protein, which starts the building blocks of proteins. Proteins turn into muscles and more complex substances. So that is synthesis. Transport, the absorption of the materials by the living things, and also the movement and distribution of materials throughout the organism's body, like in the circulatory system or the digestive system. And regulation, processes that control and coordinate the many activities of a living thing. It allows us to adjust to changes inside its body and in the environment. And keep in mind, if a living thing is not able to regulate, it will die off, either as an individual living thing or as a species. And then finally, all living things must be able to reproduce by parent organisms, either asexually without a male and a female, in which the DNA is identical, that is called cloning, or in sexual reproduction, in which there are different offspring produced with a unique combination of DNA. And so, to date, looking at the concept of species, what is species? To date, we have 30 million different types of plants and animals, and we had to find a way to classify them. So when we organize living things into groups, we are classifying them, and the basic unit is called a species. This is an important definition. That is a group of similar organisms that can mate and produce not just an offspring, but an offspring that's fertile. Because keep in mind, if the organism cannot reproduce, it can't survive. So a species is a reproductive definition. So we have, for example, a red wolf. The male will mate with the female and have a new fertile red wolf pup. I think they're called pups. I could be wrong. And so if a population of red wolves becomes separated from each other for thousands of years, say a river changed direction or there was a natural disaster, the two populations will then breed separately for a very long time. However, if the two populations are brought back together again and they can still mate and produce fertile offspring, they're still considered to be of one species. If there are natural changes that take place and so they cannot produce fertile offspring, they're not considered to be of one species. And so, if we talk about horses and donkeys mating, in some cases, and this is rare within the animal world, they can produce offspring. However, a horse and a donkey make a mule, and the mule cannot reproduce and make a new mule. So the mule is infertile, and it's known as an infertile hybrid. It is not a species. A hybrid is not a species. Notice they're all part of this family of equus, horses, donkeys, and mules. And look at the name of the donkey, Equus africanus asinus, an ass. We call donkeys an ass. Finally, the next one, which is this is the one that kind of gets people because it's not in English, it's Latin, and it's called binomial. Two names, nomenclature, name. So a biological name and then a name again. And this was a Swedish physician and botanist who studied live plants named Carolus Linnaeus. And he came up with this system of classification that we call taxonomy. So we use anatomy of the animal and we look at the body type, structure of the organism. And species, again, that animals that can reproduce and create fertile offspring are called a species. Okay, so his name system is used by scientists all over the world. First name gives us the genus, and the second name gives us the species. And the genus is a little more specific, and it's a group consisting of one or more related species. So and when you're talking about a species, you're talking about one particular type. And then when you're talking about a genus, you're talking about more related species. So, like in the genus of Equus, we have a horse, we have a donkey, and we have a mule, right? But when we talk about species, the mule is not within the same species as a horse or a donkey. So here's an example looking at wolves, coyotes, and the domestic dog, which has been domesticated for thousands of years. We've had dogs as house pets for many, going back to ancient times. So you have Canis, they all belong to the Canis genus. But then we have a lupus, which is a wolf, a latrans, which is a coyote, and a familiaris. Canis familiaris is a house dog, right? How do we remember? They got an even bigger system. It's called a hierarchy or relationship. So you rank groups one above the other from the largest to the smallest. So the largest is going to be on the top. And in the domain of Earth, you'll have life. And then we'll have the animal kingdom. And then we'll have phylums, classes, orders, families, genus, and species. How in the world do we remember that? And each of these groups are called taxons. Well, there are two word tricks, which is called a mnemonic. And I like number 2. Danny, keep pots clean or family gets sick. Danny, keep pots clean or family gets sick. Here's another one. Do kangaroos prefer cake or icing, generally speaking? Do kangaroos prefer cake or frosting? I'm sorry, generally speaking. So this is how you remember. And again, we go from the largest to the smallest, from the largest to the smallest. Then we have the different domains of classification, classification for humans, and then the review. Well, I'm going to stop right here and we'll resume next week when we talk about how the system of classification is broken down again in a different way. So that's all we have for today. See you, hopefully, some of you tomorrow for social studies, if not Monday for reading. Take care. Have a good afternoon.